Rabbi say, so this all the events that are recorded in this week's parsha, in Parshas Chukas, took place during the 40th year of Klal Yisrael's journey in the Midbar. You know, as that's when Miriam died. They had no water, as Rashi says. Miriam. And now, at the end of the 40 years, when Miriam passes, so and that's when then there was the mice of the Mei Meriva, and Moshe sent Malachim Midbar Kodesh Eretz Edom, and Edom refused to allow Yidden to be over Bigvuloi Vayet Yisrael Me'olov, and then they went from Kodesh and they went to Hor, and that's where Aaron died, and then Vayishma Knani Melech Arod Kimes Aaron, etc., until the end of the parsha, which is Vayisu B'nei Yisrael Vayachanu Ba'arvoi Smoyov Me'ever L'Yardoin Yerechoi. So all this is happening towards the end of the 40th year as Klal Yisrael is preparing to enter Eretz Yisrael. But the parsha begins with Zois Chukas HaTorah, with Para Aduma. And this, it would seem, doesn't at all belong here and now. When was this parsha of Para Aduma said? You know, the Gemara in Gittin Daf Samach says in the name of Reb Levi that this is one of the 8 parshios that were said B'Yom Shehu Kama Mishkan, meaning that it was said on Rosh Chodesh Nisan of the second year that Klal Yisrael was in the Midbar, the second year since they left Mitzrayim, on the day of Hakamas HaMishkan. So how did this parsha come to be placed in Parshas Chukas, where we're dealing with what's happening in the 40th year? Actually, you know, it's Yitachin that the parsha of Para Aduma is even more ancient. You know, when it says in Parshas B'Shalach, Shom loichoik u'mishpat v'shom nisahu, Rashi says that what's the choik u'mishpat that was given in Mora? Rashi says b'Mora Nosan lahem miktzis parshiyos shel Torah sheyis asku bohen para Shabbos upara aduma v'dinin. And in spite of the fact that the Lashon Rashi is mashma sheyis asku bohen, that it's not about a tzivui, it's not a command yet, it's just sheyis asku bohen. Nevertheless, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Nun Vav, says mikan she'al hadinin nitztavu b'mora. And so it says over there also, with regard to Shabbos, that based on what it says in the Divrei Sachronis in Parshas V'eschan Kashet Tzivcha Hashem Elokecha, and we say Kashet Tzivcha b'Mora. So it would seem that Para Aduma was also, if it was said in Mora, it was Tzivcha in Mora. Truth is, the Gemara doesn't mention Para Aduma. Ad Kedei Kach, that the Torah Tmima, it has a suggestion that it's a Torah Sofer. It's a mistake. He says in Rashi it said Chof Aleph, and it's Kibud Av, which is mentioned in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, and it was the Ma'atik confused the Chof with a Pei, and the next Ma'atik wrote it out as Pei Aleph Para Aduma. So, but it's true that this is a creative, cute idea, but it's not true because the Ramban and the Cheskuni, they both bring from Rashi Para Aduma. Besides for the fact that Rashi himself in Parshas Mishpatim, Chav Daled Gimel, writes also Kibud Avaim and also Para Aduma. So it must be that Rashi found in Midrashei Chazal, which we don't have, that they said that Shom Som Loichoik includes also Para Aduma, probably based on the fact that Para Aduma is Chukas HaTorah. In the Hadar Zekanim from the Balei HaTosfos in the beginning of our parsha. He says, "V'yikhu Eilecha." He says, "Pirish Rabbeinu Shloimeh." He's quoting the Rashi from Parshas B'Shalach. B'moro nosan lahem mitzvahs poro. V'teima the Beperik Dalet Mises Ka'omar Yud mitzvahs nitztavu b'mora Zayin shel b'nei Noach v'dinin v'Shabbos v'kibud avaim. So where do we get Para Aduma? V'teima minolei hodam rinon the mitzvahs Para nemra lahem. Imishum deksiv choik. Aloi kama mitzvah shenema behem choik. Says Chukas HaPesach also and other mitzvahs. V'nira li say the Balei HaTosfos midiksiv Zois Chukas HaTorah asher tzivo Hashem. Tzivo. V'heichon tzivo. V'haloi ato maschil etzavois. V'loi matzinu kain, this kind of language, tzivo, in a past tense, we only find by mitzvah shenemru kvar. The Chai Gavne Medagdik beperek Dalet Mises the Shabbos v'kibud avaim nemru b'mora midiksiv kashet tzivcho v'heichon tzivcho b'mora. And Memela, this is where Rashi is coming from, really, because it says mashma that the tziva was already earlier, and from here we know that it was said in Mora. So you see that the mitzvah of Para Aduma is actually a very ancient mitzvah. It's from before Matan Torah. And the parsha, this parsha, Zois Chukas HaTorah Asher Tziva, was said on Rosh Chodesh Nisan of the second year. So how come it appears in Chukas, where everything in this parsha is happening in the 40th year, and the Zois Chukas HaTorah appears here? So really, it could be that that's really what the Gemara is asking in Ma'id Kotten Daf Chof Ches, and Rashi brings it on the pasuk in this week's parsha V'Atomos Shom Miriam. The Gemara asks, Lama nismacha misas Miriam lepara aduma. So, misas Miriam is not a kasha why it's here. It actually happened here and now. So it's really one of the events that are happening right now. So the question really is, Lama nismacha Parshas misas Miriam lepara aduma really is why the para aduma was brought here. And for that, the Gemara says, that's the question of Lama nismacha. But the answer obviously needs to be explained, at least in as much as we can understand. Chazal say that the smichus of Misas Miriam to Para Aduma is coming to teach us that Ma Para Mechaperes Af Misas Tzadikim Mechaperes. So how, why, and on what is the Para Mechaperes? And what's the tzad hashava? What's the common denominator between Misas Tzadikim and Para Aduma in them both having a koyach hamachaper? What is this about? Right after the Misas Tzadikim, Misas Miriam, it says, V'loi hoyo mayim la'eda. They had no water, vayikohalu al Moshe v'al Aharon, etc. And then Vayovay Moshe v'Aharon mipnei hakol al Pesach oil moed vayiplu apneihem vayeru kvoid Hashem aleihem. And then it says Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe kaches hamate. You should take the staff. V'hakel eso eido ato v'Aaron achicha v'dibartem el asela le'eineihem v'nosan meimov v'oitzeso lehem mayim min asela v'ishkiso es eido v'es be'irom vayikach Moshe es hamatem lefnei Hashem kasher tzivohu Vayakilu Moshe v'Aaron es kol hakol pnei asela vayomer lohem shimu no hamoirim hamin asela azeh noitzi lochem mayim vayorem Moshe es yodoi vayaches asela pa'amoyim vayetzu mayim rabim v'teish loido birim. And then it says vayomer Hashem al Moshe v'Aaron yan lo ha'emantem bi lahaktisheni la'einei bnei Yisrael lochein lo yisaviu es hakol azeh la'oretz asher nasati lam heima mei meriva asher rovu bnei Yisrael es Hashem vayikodesh bom. So this sin of Mei Meriva had very serious consequences, as we know. I mean, it brought the oynish on Moshe v'Aaron that they did not enter Eretz Yisrael. Aaron dies immediately, Moshe dies a bit later. Obviously, this is very serious on a personal level for Moshe and Aaron. But beyond that, as we see from Divrei Chazal, and there's an arichas about this in the Paroshas Drochim from the Mishnah Lamelech in Drush Ches, that if Moshe would have entered Eretz Yisrael, he would have built the Beis HaMikdash, and the Beis HaMikdash would never be chorev, and there would be no golus. So it comes out that the Chet of Mei Meriva, which caused Moshe Rabbeinu not to enter Eretz Yisrael, changed the entire course of our history. But as we know, we do not know what the Chet was. As the Ramban says, Chet Moshe v'Aharon b'mei Meriva einay misparsim b'kosov. That it's not clear from the Psukim what did they do wrong. Rashi says that Hashem commanded them v'dibartem el hasela, and he didn't say v'hikisem. And ilu dibru hoya kodesh baruch hu miskadish le'nei ha'eda v'oimrim uma sela zeh she'enoi shomea v'enoi medaber mekayim dvorish shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu onu alachas kama v'chama. So Hashem's name would have been sanctified if they would have spoken to the rock, and the rock would give water, because then Yidden would learn a kal v'chomer that if the rock that's enoi shomea v'enoi medaber gets the message, all the more so we shall. The Ramban writes about this with Divrei Agodahem. The Divrei Agodahem avaloy nischavru. It's not clear. Since the Rebbeinu Shalom told Moshe, take the staff, yesh b'mashma sheyake. I mean, he definitely had the right to get the impression that he's meant to hit the rock. The Ibn Ezra brings another 3 pirushim just to show you how complicated this is, and he knocks off all the 3 pirushim, and he suggests a 4th mahalach that the Ramban is also doiche. Then the Ramban brings in the name of the Rambam and the Moreh Nevuchim, and he attacks him very sharply. The Rambam says that it was an atiyah l'tzad haragzonus v'akas. The Ramban has a tremendous arichis about this. In the end, he brings in the name of the Rabbeinu Hananu, that the Chet was that they said, Hamin hasela hazeh noitzi lochem mayim, which seems like we are the ones that are bringing out the water. They didn't attribute it to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And maybe the people thought that Moshe v'Aharon b'chochmosa moitzi lochem mayim in hasela. The Orach Chaim brings no less than 10 pirushim in what the Chet of the Mei Meriva was, and he says, V'adayin loy nocho daiti. I'm still not comfortable with any of these pirushim. In any case, the bottom line is that it's clear that this is totally not clear. So Rashi said that they should have spoken to the rock and they shouldn't have hit it. But on this, the Ramban said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, Kaches amata, and all the oisos in Mitzrayim were done with a mata. Why was he supposed to understand that over here he shouldn't be using the mata? Other Mefarshim ask even more, that in the beginning of our journey in the Midbar, immediately after we left Mitzrayim, before Matan Torah, when we were in Refidim, it says in the end of Parshas B'Shalach, Ve'ein mayim lishtois ha'om, and over there it says, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Avor lifnei ha'om, V'kach miziknei Yisrael, umatcho, asher hikisa bo yaseyor, kach biyodecha v'halachta, hineni oimid l'fanecha shom al atzur b'chor, v'hikisa batzur, v'yotzu menu mayim, v'shasa ha'om, v'yasken Moshe le'niziknei Yisrael. So over there, he really was told to hit the rock with the mata. And Memela, if over here he was also told to take the mata, how is he meant to understand that over here he shouldn't be hitting with the mata? And Be'ikar Advarim, we really need to understand what's the difference between these two cases. Why over there was he told to hit the sur, and over here he was told to talk to the selah? So there's a fascinating medrash that's brought in the Yalkut Shimoni over here in Remez Tov Shin Samach Gimel that says V'dibartem el hasela v'hikisem loy nemar. It doesn't say you should hit the rock. It says you should talk to the rock. Omar loy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Kshanar koton. When the child is small, Rabbi Makehu umelamdoi. The Rebbe hits him and teaches him. Kivin shehigdil. Once he matured and he's older, bedibur hu meyasroi. He communicates with words. Hach Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, Shehoya sela zeh cotton, hikisoisoi. When the seller was small, you hit the sela. Shenemar v'hikiso batzur. Avol achshav v'dibartem el hasela. Shnei olav perik echad v'hu moitzi mayim min hasela. So, I mean, in other words, the way Moshe Rabbeinu is meant to bring the water out of the sela parallels the educational method that he's meant to apply now as the educator of the Jewish people. Immediately after Yetzias Mitzrayim, which was B'chipozin, they were on the level of a nar cotton, where dibur is not enough. You have to apply some pressure in order to move the child in the right way. Sometimes you have to even give him a slap in order that he should be moitzi meimov, v'hikisa batzur. But now we say that what was right in the beginning of the 40 years is no longer the right way to go. Kivin shehigdil, the chinuch is supposed to be b'dibur, no longer a hands-on education, or rather a hands-on activation, but a hands-off education. Yes, so we can even be moisif that Moshe Rabbeinu had his own matter with which he appeared before Paroi, and he used that matter for the oisos and the moifsim in Mitzrayim, and also in Milchemes Amalek. It says umato helikim biyadi, and that's the matter that he used in Refidim to bring the water out of the tzur, as it says over there, Mefurish in the pasuk in the end of B'Shalach. Vayoyma Hashem el Moshe avor lefnei Om umatcho asher hikisa bo yasayor kach biyodecha v'hikisa batzur v'yotzim menu mayim. So this was Moshe's mate. This was Moshe's mate. But over here it says Vayikach Moshe es hamate milefnei Hashem ka'asher tzivo. He was told to take the mate milefnei Hashem. His mate, l'chayr, wasn't l'fnei Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu's mate, Moshe Rabbeinu held. What's l'fnei Hashem? So the Rashbam says, Bekitzer in the Cheskuni, it's more ba'ariches, that the Cheskuni says, Zeh ha-mate shel Aharon. The Hoksiv. One second. I think it didn't silence the phone. Zeh ha-mate shel Aharon. The Hoksiv vayikach Moshe es ha-mate milefnei Hashem. V'zeh maklo shel Aaron, ki diksiv v'parshas Korach, hoshev es hamat es mate Aaron lefnei ha'edus l'mishmeres la'ois lefnei Mary. So if he was told to take the mate milefnei Hashem, which mate was lefnei Hashem? That was the mate of Aaron, because the mate of Aaron he was told to put l'mishmeres lefnei Hashem. So why was Moshe Rabbeinu told over here to take dafka the matter of Aharon and not his own matter? So maybe we can say the matter of Moshe was a matter of action. It's the matter with which he hit the Yaor and he brought the Makis on Mitzrayim, and with that matter he was told to hit the Tzur in Refidim. On the other hand, the matter of Aharon was a matter of beauty. It was a matter of Vayotzei Perach, Vayotzes Tzitz, Vayigmel Shkedim. The message to Korach V'Adosai and the rest of the Klal Yisrael that Aaron is the chosen one was not conveyed by banging on the heads. It was conveyed by they became convinced that Aaron is the chosen one by seeing the Prochim and the Shkedim in the Mata Aaron. So with HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling Moshe that over here he shouldn't use his own matter, but he should use the matter Aharon, which is Milfnei Hashem. He's hinting to him that now in the end of the 40 years, we no longer use the matter of action, the matter of coercion, but Kivin Shehigdil, we convince by talking. Yeah, the matter is as we can say for illustration purposes. Only. Yes, so that Moshe Rabbeinu is being nenash for not paying attention to that hint. You know, the Gemara in Sanhedrin of Chavdalid says on the pasuk in Zechariah that in Limud HaTorah there are two Drochim. There's a makel choivlim based on a pasuk in Zechariah. Makel choivlim and a makel noyam. So here they were meant to move from the chinuch with a makel choivlim to the chinuch with a mate noyam, makel noyam. So, but at first glance, when you think about this medrash that compares the Dor Yotzei Mitzrayim to a nar cotton, to a small child, that the Rav is Makehu Malamdoi, seems to us kind of strange, because this is the generation that Chazal referred to as a Dor Deya. This is the generation that, they saw Al Hayam, Masha Loiro Yecheskel Ben Buzi. This is the generation that was Zoichet in Maimed Harsina, Ato Horeisol Adaski, Hashem Elokim Ein Oid Milvadoi. And they are the Nar Cotton that we mechanech them with the Mata Moshe, with Hakor. And the Dor Boy Haaretz that were born during the 40 years, and they weren't Zoichet to all those revelations, them Chazal compared to the Kiven Shehigdil that we mechanech them with Dibur. How are we meant to understand this? That the Dor Deya is the Nar Cotton. The Dor Boy Haaretz is the Nar Godel, the Kiven Shehigdil. The Gemara tells us in Nida that the Ubar b'mei imoy melamdin kol haTorah kula. The Kiven sheyoytze la'avir ha'olam ba malach v'soitrei al piv u'meshachechoi. So I ask you, is the fetus greater than the tinnik that's born because he knows kol haTorah kula? Obviously, we understand that it's the shichachas haTorah at the moment of Leda, which is the beginning of the personal growth of the tinnik, right? The unknowing of the known allows for the growth. So obviously we can't really talk about the Dor HaMidbar and anything in terms of understanding what it's really about, but with that disclaimer, we have to discuss what we can learn for ourselves from this, and we can say like this: the Dor HaMidbar was a Dor Deya, but the Deya came from above. Ata Harei Soladas Ki Hashem Hu Elokim Ein Od Milvado. Was Kofa Aleim Har Kegigis. The Shifcha, she saw Al Hayam Masha Loro Yecheskel Ben Buzi, but is she greater than Yecheskel Ben Buzi? She remained a Shifcha, and Yecheskel that saw less, he grew on his own. And he became a Nevi Hashem. Agav, today is Hey Tammuz, is the day that Yecheskel had his vision of the Ma'aser Merkava in the beginning of Sefer Yecheskel, where it says, "Vayihi b'shloshim shana baravi," which is Chodesh Tammuz, b'chamisha lachodesh v'ani b'toich hagoyla al nahar kvar niftachu hashamayim ve'era maris elikim. So Avada, Yecheskel ben Buzi saw less than the Shifcha, but he was much greater than the Shifcha. Yeah, so we taka see that the Dor Deya is compared to an Ubar. As we can understand from Chazal that say, Mipnei ma hoya hamon mishtana l'chol dover chutz me'elu, zacharnu es hakishuim v'sadiluim, mipnei shekoshin l'meinikois, omrim le'isha al toichli shum ubotzel. So they needed to be protected from certain foods. Moshe Rabbeinu says, ha'anoichi harisi es ha'am hazeh, ha'anoichi yiliditihu, ki soimer elai se'eyu b'cheikecho kasheyiso ha'oimen es hayoinek. Yeah, like a nurse carries a suckling. The Dor HaMidbar grew up in a greenhouse, so to speak. Yeah, like a Uber and a tinnik. But that's Behiloi Neiroi Alei Roishi, the Gemara brings the pasuk in Eov, which means his lamp shining on my head. It's all b'matana. And this is all a preparation for the unknowing, which will enable us to reclaim that knowledge with our own effort. And this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying to Moshe, in the beginning of the journey, when Bnei Yisrael were on the level of an Ubar and a Tinnik, the chinuch was with coercion, with a hammer. But now, kiven shehigdil b'dibur hu miyasher v'dibartem el hasela shnei olav perik echad v'moitzi mayim in hasela. The time has come to guide them and to convince them with a mata aharon, with the prochim and the shkedim, and not with a mata Moshe, not with a mata of hitting. You know, the Ramban, it has a difficulty with the pasuk Yan lo ha'emantem bi lahaktisheni. Is it possible to say that Moshe Rabbeinu the Adonai Neviim asher yodoi Hashem ponim el ponim had a chisoron of emunah? Lo ha'emantem bi lahaktisheni. So the Ramban says, and I read you his lashon. He says the year lo ha'emantem bi yoitze el bnei Yisrael. What does that mean? It means the ha'emantem doesn't mean you didn't believe. It means you didn't make them believe. He'emantem is a lashon hifil, that by not doing the with the rock what you were meant to do is loy he'emantem bi, you didn't bring them to emunah. Loy he'emantem bi is yoitzel b'nei Yisrael. You know, it's like Reb Chaim used to say that emunah begins where yediyah ends. So when there's a horeis das, there's no emunah. When everything is clear, there's no challenge and there's no emunah. So Moshe Rabbeinu's overbearing presence, when he hits with a staff, doesn't leave room for emunah. It's lo ha'emantem bi. You didn't bring them to emunah. It's like you spoon-fed everything. The Sfas Emes in Tov Reish Mem Gimel writes b'zeh haloshen. L'chein ksiv yan lo ha'emantem. V'chalila chalila shehoyu Moshe Rabbeinu olav hasholem va'aron chas v'sholem mechusari emunah. Aval ha'inyin ki zeh hoya edus she'einam muchonim la'anhogas dor hachodosh. Shehoyu muchonim likonis l'Eretz Yisrael. She'ikir hanhogosam b'bchinas emunah. So the Sfas Emes is saying the ikar hanhog of the dor boy ha'aretz is b'chinas emunah. And the Lo Ha'emantem really was an edus that Moshe and Aaron will not be able to be the leaders of the next generation. They can only lead in the Dor HaMidbar. The fact that they couldn't adjust to the new way of chinuch that applies to the kiven shehigdil, that shows that they're disqualified from being the manhigim of the Dor Boy Haaretz. The Gemara says in Shabbos on the pasuk V'hoya emunas itecha choisen Yeshua is chochma vadas. The Gemara says that emunas is seder zroim. So Taisus brings the Yerushalmi. Why is emuna the seder of zroim? Shemamin b'chaye oilamim v'zoreya. He believes in Hashem and he's zoreya. I mean, everybody's Zoreya. Atheists are also Zoreya. The Chiddush of Emunah is that even in something so natural as being Zoreya and then being Koitzer, the Mamin B'chai Oilamim brings his Emunah into the natural world. Yeah, the Chiddush of Emunah is when he does what everybody does, but nevertheless he does it with Emunah. So in the Midbar, they were surrounded by Anani Yaakov, and they ate lechem and hashamayim, and they drank water from the be'er. There was no challenge, and there was no place for emunah. Everything was clear. The task of the Dor Boy Haaretz is to be zoreya like everybody else, and to do it mitoich emunah b'chei ha'olamim. You know, there's a midrash in Parshas Kedoshim that says on the pasuk v'chisa voyu el haaretz unetatem. Says the Midrash, Hadotar negolta. Chicken had a froichen de kicken when the chicks are small. Mechan shelahoin. She gathers them. The Yavis lahoin tchois agafaya takes them under her wings. Umadarne and digs in front of them. V'kat inun ravye, when they become big, boya lemikriv labasa, they want to come close to the mother, so to speak. V'hi nokra lahoin begoyreishe v'amr lahoin zila darbikol kultach. Go find food for yourself, right? Kach kishahoyu Yisrael b'midbar arbaim shana hamon yored v'habe'er oil lohen v'aslov motzi lohen v'anani hakovet makifay soison v'amud onon masiya lefneim kiven shenichnesu la'oretz amar lahem Moshe kol echad ve'echad yitoin makushay V'yipoik v'yinsav le'nitziv, and everybody should go and plow his own field. Hazohu d'ksiv kisavoyu el ha'oretz uneta'atem. The midbar is over. Now it's time to work on your own. So the avodah of the Dor Boy Haaretz is ma'amin b'chei oilamim v'zoreya. And that's what the Sfas Emes is saying, that the Chet of Mei Meriva was an Eidus she'enam muchonim la'anhogas Dor HaChodosh she'ikir hanhogosam b'bchinas emunah. The Dor HaMidbar was a Dor Deya, a Dor of knowledge. The Dor Boy Haaretz is a Dor of emunah, when there is no clear knowledge. This Dor needs leadership that's more remote, not Hakoh, but a Shnei Olav Perek Echot. And Moshe and Aaron weren't able to adjust to this new type of leadership. Yeshua bin Nun is the Machnes Yisrael Oretz. The Ramban in Parshas Kisiso, Lamed Gimel Yud Aleph, says that bin is a lotion of bina. Chochma, is the Nekudas HaChochma that comes milamayla. Bina is the Mevin Dover Mitoich Dover. That's the Madrega of the Dor Boy Haaretz. Further in the Parsha it says, Oz Yoshir Yisrael, Ali Be'er Enulo. So there's a medrash also brought in the Yalkut Shimoni in Tov Shin Samach Dalit that says, Omar Reb Oven Halevi, B'shosha Omdu Yisrael Loi Mashiris Hayom. Yeah, when they let by Kriyas Yamsuf, Loi Hinichon Moshe Sheyomru La'atzmon. He didn't let them say on their own. Elo Kashem Sheraboy Shel Odom Oimer Imoy Parshosoi Keshehunar. Just like a Rebbe says the Parsha with a small child, he says it with him. Yeah. So, Kach Omar Moshe Imohen. So Moshe said it with them. Shenema Oz Yoshim Moshe Uvnei Yisrael. Kenar ha'oina acharaboy. Kenar ha'oina acharaboy. La'achar boim shono. But after the 40 years, Omdu al Pirkon. They're already on their own. Hischilu oimrim shiras ha'be'er la'atzmon. Shenema Oz Yosher Yisrael. Amru Rebbeinu Shalom Alecha Liyos Oiselanu Nisim V'aleinu Loy Mashiras Shenema Hashem Lahoshiyeni Uneginoisai Nenagein. But this is what it is. In the 40th year, they're moving from the Tzuras Achinuch of Hikisa Batzur to the Derech of V'dibartem El Asela. They're preparing for the V'chisa Voyu La'oretz Unetatem. From this point on, we have to make our own effort to see the Nisim Nistorim, the Mamin B'chei Elohim V'zoreya, and Loimar Aleim Shira. So what is Parah Aduma Mechaper on? Rashi brings in the name of Reb Moshe Adashim that it's Mechaper on the Chet HaEgel. As he says, Moshel ben Shivche, Shetinei Paltin Shel Melech, Omru Tovoi Imoi, Usakanei Achatzoyo, Kach Tovoi Parah, Usachaper Aleigel. I mean, first of all, we know that the Parah Aduma is in order to purify from Tumas Meis. But since the Torah uses the expression Chatos Hi, we know that there's also a dimension of Mechaper in Parah Aduma, besides for it being a Metaher of Tumas Meis. But what's the connection between the Parah Aduma as a Metaher from Tumas Meis to it being a Mechaper on the Chet HaEgel? So what is Tumas Meis? Exposure to death, the touching of the body of a dead man, brings down the human spirit. He experiences the nothingness of life, as it says in Koheles, "Ki mikra bnei ha'adam umikra ha'behema umikra echad lahem ki moizeh kein moizeh v'ruach echad lakol umoizeh adam el behema oyin ki hakoil hovel hakoil hoylech el makoim echad." HaKoil hoya min ha'afar v'hakoil shov el ha'afar. But the next pasuk, what does Koheles say? Mi yoidea ruach b'nei ha'adam ha'oila hi lamala v'ruach ha'behema ha'yoredes hi lamata l'oretz. So the difference is not sensed with the senses. It's not tangible. It's even not grasped with the seichel. When you're facing death, we see kemoizeh. The difference is in the realm of miyodeya. It's beyond understanding. It's beyond knowledge. It's miyodeya Ruach b'nei ha'adam ha'oila hilamalo. So it's only connecting with the mystery of life, the understanding that what's tangible doesn't fully express reality, and there's that awareness of the mystery of life, the connection with the miyodeya, that allows us to live a life where the ruach ha'adam ha'oila hi l'maylo. So the Parah Aduma, which is Zois Chukas HaTorah, Chukach HaKakti, Gzera Gozarti, instills in us the ability to accept and even to embrace the mystery of life, to live the miyodeya, where the Ruach HaAdam is Ha'olah Hilamaylam. And in this sense, the Parah Aduma is also a mechaper on the Chet HaEgel. Because what was the Egel? We don't really know, but it's first in the pasuk that the root of the Chet HaEgel was Zem Moishayish Lo Yodanu Mahoyaloi. They couldn't deal with the lack of knowledge, with uncertainty, with the lack of clarity. Yeah, they developed a dependence on Moshe. The Choik of Parah Aduma is what instills in us the miyodeya, that attaches us to the mystery of life, and that's mechaper on the Chet HaEgel. Not knowing is not a problem. It actually could invigorate us. So lama nismecha misas Miriam lepara aduma loymelecha kashem shepara aduma mechaperes kach misas tzadikim mechaperes. I mean, if exposure to death in general of any person it brings us to yush and despair, so all the more so misas tzadikim, there's a special danger, as Koheles says in Tess. Hakoil kasher lakoil mikra echad latzadik v'larosha latoiv v'lator v'latome v'lazoyveach v'lashe'inenu zoyveach katoiv kachoite, etc. Zeh ra b'chol hashenasa tachas hashemesh ki mikra echad lakoil. So Mises Tzadikim is really a choik, but when we accept it, it's mechaper. Just like the Parah Aduma that attaches us to the mystery of life. Also in the sense that the Ziknei She'eris Amcha Beis Yisrael Pleitas Beis Ephraim teach us Torah and Yira on a madrega of the previous generation, so that with their death, things become less clear. The kapara is in our ability to deal with the miyodeya, with the lo yodanu, just like we deal with the choik of Parah Aduma. And therefore the parsha of Parah Aduma is written in the Torah together with Misas Miriam and Aaron and the Chet Meriva, things that happened in the 40th year on the verge of our entry into Eretz Yisrael, even though the parsha of Parah was already said in Morah before Matan Torah and repeated in the on Rosh Chodesh Nisan of the Shana Hashenis, but nevertheless it appears here because the Dor Hamidbar was a Dor Deya, a Dor of Ras Shifcha, a Dor of Ator Reis. The lesson of the Parah Aduma becomes especially necessary and critical when the Dor Deya is no longer, and the Dor Boya Haaretz no longer will have that level of Deya. They won't have that clarity. They're going to have to live a life of Ma'amin B'chaya Ilomim V'zoyreya. They're not going to have Lechem in Hashomayim. They're going to have to believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Moitzi Lechem Min Haaretz. Right, and at this point, it becomes so important to instill within us the hakara that what you see is not what you get. We have to connect to the mystery of life, to what's beyond the tangible. Vatalamdeim chukei chaim lasois ritzoincha b'leiv of sholem. Okay, Rabbi Say.